Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!
This is Steve Zeltzer, and I'm with Work Week. I produce a show on working people. They are committed to free Julian Assange, which is hosting this action. And we're here on Labor Day, September 7th, to talk about a labor journalist, a labor prisoner, who was doing his job, and that is Julian Assange. He was doing his job as a journalist to expose the war crimes of the United States through WikiLeaks, all war crimes of corporations and of governments. And today, in Britain, there's a trial to try to extradite Julian Assange for the quote-unquote crime of exposing the crimes of the United States and the United Kingdom. That's why they want to ship him back to the United States. So this attack on democratic rights, attack on journalists. Right now in the United States, throughout the country, journalists are being attacked by the police, by goons, by fascists, neo-fascists, for reporting on racism, discrimination. And Julian Assange is the foremost journalist and prisoner in the world who has been fighting to expose these crimes of the United States in WikiLeaks. So we're here today to talk about those issues, and my view is that the real criminals are the ones running the White House, the Congress, these Congress people. The real criminals are the UK government, which has been involved in crimes all over the world. These are the criminals in the United States. So what we're here today is, what we're saying is put the real criminals on trial, free Julian Assange. We demand that he be freed, and we are going to continue the campaign in the United States, in San Francisco and around the country to educate people. The San Francisco Labor Council has supported Julian Assange. The Troy County Labor Council has supported the defense of Julian Assange. And we've got to get the labor movement, all journalists. If one journalist is jailed, is imprisoned, is faced with laws that threaten his right to get the information out, it threatens all journalists. This is a right of journalism, it's a right of free speech, and it's something we have to stand up for. So we're starting this action on that tone, with that goal. Free Julian Assange, free all journalists, free all political prisoners who are fighting to get the truth out. So we're going to start with a musical presentation by Gigi and Orion, who've written a number of songs, and they're going to be doing some music. Welcome.
Chelsea Manning, she's free, but Julian's still in jail. I said Chelsea Manning is free, but Julian is still in jail. They won't even let them make their bail. Let me get this strap on here. That's good, we get a sing-along. They never change, they never change, they shoot us down without shame. They never change, it's that same old capitalist, imperialist, rotten game. We're gonna fight to set them free. I said we're gonna fight to set them free. Brian Carmody. From their cells of misery. They never change, they shoot us down without shame. They never change, it's that same old rotten capitalist, imperialist, murderous game.
Welcome, Charles.
Thank you, Steve. Free Julian Assange, Mumia Abu-jamal, Leonard Peltier, all the political class 4 prisoners. I'm also a supporter of the Partisan Defense Committee and the Spartacus League. I call what lit the Spartacus League that we build a fighting workers' party and struggle for a workers' government. The only way we're going to get forward in this life as human beings is to collectively, a socialist society has to be built on a worldwide basis so that this injustice, the racism, and inequality is eliminated. The only way forward for us. Right now you got a fascism on a slow bell with this guy in charge. The Democrats, no different. They just do it a little more suave. But they're both in defending capitalism, and fascism will be called on to defend capitalism in its death agony. And it's pretty close to that now. So I stand here in solidarity with the struggle today in London and around the world to free Julian Assange and let him work as a journalist as he is, free of the restraints of capitalist governments.
So we're here today at the San Francisco UK Consulate to demand that Julian Assange be freed. He should be freed, and the people who really committed the war crimes should be on trial. That's what we're saying. Why is it that the whistleblower, the person that exposes war crimes, is the one that's prosecuted? And this came under the Democrats and Republicans. Obama and the Democrats were part and parcel of voting for the wars. We're part and parcel of these war crimes. So what do? They prosecute Julian Assange. They don't prosecute the people that violated the law in this country, that covered up war crimes. War crimes are wrong and have to be challenged. Julian Assange did that. Chelsea Manning did that. The whistleblowers are doing that, and they're the ones that are getting prosecuted. So we commit to continue this campaign for Julian Assange, this international campaign. We're happy to be here on the day that his trial is going on to let people around the world that know that Americans are against this extradition. Americans are against the attack on Julian Assange. Americans are for freeing Julian Assange. Americans are for putting on trial those people who committed war crimes, and it certainly wasn't Julian Assange. Julian Assange was the whistleblower who blew the whistle on these war crimes by releasing in WikiLeaks these crimes. So we have to stand together. We have to let people know in the United States and around the world, free Julian Assange, free Mumia Abu-jamal. Politicians who want to jail Julian Assange for telling the truth are silent about the corruption right here in San Francisco. The crimes are against the black community, against other people in Hunters Point, Bayview, and in Treasure Island. So when we talk about telling the truth and truth seekers, the very people in San Francisco who are covering up the crimes of the city and the Tetra Tech and these developers, they want to jail Julian Assange. We find that abhorrent. We find that outrageous. We're saying the real criminals should be in jail, not Julian Assange, not Mumia Abu-jamal. And we have with us a statement from Mumia Abu-jamal.
Julian Assange, perhaps one of the best known of the WikiLeaks collective, spent 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy in London until, under circumstances that remain unclear, his asylum became his detention pending his extradition to the United States. Why? Because WikiLeaks revealed the crimes of the U.S. empire in Iraq and Afghanistan, where U.S. forces killed non-combatants for fun, including journalists. Assange's group showed memos and video of U.S. armed forces joking while killing, and the consequences of the Imperial War based on baseless lies. Assange, by passing on these memos and tapes to U.S. and global journalists, revealed the cruelties of imperial war and how easily such wars are accomplished. That is his crime. It is for that reason that he's in detention again in the United States of America, awaiting the reality of a free press. The question arises, of course, is Julian Assange a political prisoner? I don't think there's any question that can reasonably be asked about that, given the fact that he is a prisoner and has been held in asylum by governments, by states, for acts that are legal, that are in the public interest, and that tend to inform people of that which governments don't want people to know about. There can be no question on this issue. And because of that, I think you know the answer. And as someone who has been charged for being a member of a political organization and convicted and sentenced to death, I think I have some insight on that matter. Julian's run. First things first. Who is Julian Assange? And secondarily, why is his struggle of import to any of us? Assange, born in Townsville, Queensland, Australia, in 1971, is the founder of a global online media service known as WikiLeaks. As such, Assange is a journalist. His group has been a blockbuster, capturing and passing on files and internal memos of governments all around the world. For this, he has been hounded, targeted, and jailed, now serving over 50 weeks for allegedly jumping bail in Britain to avoid extradition to the U.S., which seeks to jail him for violating the U.S. Espionage Act. As shown, Assange, born into a British Commonwealth state, Australia, is not an American and owes it no fealty. But the U.S. empire rules the world, not just U.S. territory. On July 25th, 2010, WikiLeaks published on its website some 75,000 documents on the Afghanistan war. These documents presented a damning portrait of the U.S. empire at work. WikiLeaks revealed the crimes of the U.S. empire in Iraq and Afghanistan, where U.S. forces killed non-combatants for fun, including journalists. Assange's group showed memos and video of U.S. armed forces joking while killing, and the consequences of the Imperial War based on baseless lies. The Iraq and Afghanistan wars are now widely considered to be the biggest blunders in U.S. foreign policy. For these wars of regime change floated into being on an ocean of lies and misinformation. Quick, remember weapons of mass destruction? How many thousands and tens of thousands died based on an American mirage? Assange, by passing on these memos and tapes to U.S. and global journalists, revealed the cruelties of imperial war and how easily such wars are accomplished. That is his crime. He wasn't spying. Spies work for governments and militaries. Journalists work to inform people, to broaden the reaches of democracy. In the not-so-recent past, the U.S. empire used its tools of repression to silence its opponents, even when they were allegedly U.S. citizens. The targeting of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg comes to mind. They were called spies and subsequently electrocuted. The cases of Sacco and Vanzetti, immigrants from Italy, comes to mind. The targeting of the New York branch of the Black Panther Party and the trial of the Panther 21 on trumped-up charges also comes to memory. The question arises, of course, is Julian Assange a political prisoner? I don't think there's any question that can reasonably be asked about that, given the fact that he is a prisoner and has been held in asylum by governments, by states, for acts that are legal, that are in the public.
Pennsylvania State Correctional Institution, Mahanoy.
This call is subject to recording and monitoring.
That are in the public interest and that tend to inform people of that which governments don't want people to know about. There can be no question on this issue. And because of that, I think you know the answer. And as someone who has been charged for being a member of a political organization and convicted and sentenced to death, I think I have some insight on that matter. Julian Assange is a prisoner of a political vendetta. Is he thus a political prisoner? You damn betcha. When you attack the empire, of course, the empire strikes back. For publishing documents that embarrass the United States, Assange, if convicted, faces over a century, in fact, 175 years in prison. And as a foreign national, the First Amendment to the Constitution does not provide a defense. So, wait. The U.S. can invoke its criminal law for use worldwide, but the Bill of Rights doesn't obtain to foreigners, right? Yeah, that sounds fair. From Imprisoned Nation, this is Mumia Abu-jamal.
One of the speakers who is not able to be here today, but has been a longtime supporter of Julian Assange, is Roger Scott. He's a retired past president of AFT 2121 at San Francisco Community College. He's presently a delegate of the San Francisco Labor Council, was passed a resolution calling for the freedom of Julian Assange. So Gigi is going to read that statement.
To the Honorable Andrew Whitaker, Consul General, British General Consulate, 1 Sansom Street, Suite 850, San Francisco. Dear Consul General Whitaker, please convey to your government that many organizations and individuals in the United States and countries throughout the world urge the British people and government to resist pressure from the United States to extradite Julian Assange. I share the prevalent universal view that Julian Assange would have no access to a fair judicial process Sorry about that. In the United States. I also share the view that he is not a criminal, but rather someone who has exposed high crimes and powerful, oppressive governments. Julian Assange, in my view, is one of the most intelligent, humane, and responsible people of this era. He has had the moral courage and audacity to tell the truth at great peril. In every land and every stage of history, the people need activists like Assange and other courageous whistleblowers and truth-tellers to expose the lies, war crimes, and oppression of powerful and corrupt governments like the U.S. that claim to serve the people but are the enemies of the free press, truly democratic institutions, racial equality, social and economic justice. Instead of recognizing Julian Assange for his judgment and conscience and admiring his commitment to truth and justice, the United Kingdom has incarcerated, isolated, and vilified him. And the United States continues trying to extradite him to prosecute him for revealing the truth. The entire world recognizes that Julian Assange is a hero of the people, a prisoner of conscience, and an uncompromising truth-teller who deserves freedom, respect, and admiration for his work and sacrifice. If there were no media activists like Assange, we certainly would never get the truth from the mainstream media or government sources who are enemies of the truth, social, and economic justice. People across the planet will continue to demand and struggle to end his incarceration, mistreatment, isolation, and vilification. And most importantly, at this time, humanity, in my view, is overwhelmingly and justifiably opposed to extraditing him to the United States. Sincerely, Roger Scott, Ph.D.
Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange! Free Julian Assange!